said before and numerous times, Canadians are well situated to get vaccines. In fact, on the weekend, I spoke with my counterpart, the Minister of Health from the UK, Mr. Matt Hancock, to talk about the UK and Canada working closely together on regulatory approval for the number of vaccines, and many of which we share in our portfolios. Mr. Speaker, Canada is well served by the diversity of vaccines that we have purchased early and, in fact, in great quantity. And Canadians can be assured that they, too, will have access to these vaccines that will bring us to the end of COVID-19.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve certainty, clarity and competence from their government, all of which have been sorely lacking both before and during the COVID pandemic. Conservatives supported, with corrective advice, the range of emergency COVID programs, but those massive funding programs account for barely half the federal deficit. Now, today we expect yet another rhetorical exercise in the reimagining of the Canadian economy. But where, Mr. Speaker, is the plan for economic recovery?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to share with the honourable member that his calculation is mistaken. He seems not to realize that the significant closures associated for public health reasons with the COVID-19 pandemic have also contributed to the deficit. The reality is, going forward, we know that we had a choice to have the federal government incur the costs associated with the pandemic, or to have those costs fall to households and businesses. We made the decision to step up to be there for households and businesses to ensure they can contribute to the recovery once the pandemic is over. If the honourable member has suggestions on how we can move forward to ensure a robust recovery, my office is always open.
Honourable member for Thornhill.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the economic update will surely reveal just how large the deficit has become, how deep the hole out of which the country must eventually climb. The lack of a plan for acquisition and distribution of vaccines threatens to have a delaying domino impact across economic recovery. But the lack of a larger plan for fiscal recovery 2 years down the road, 3 years and more, is equally unconscionable. Mr. Speaker, when will Canadians get a comprehensive plan?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, while the Conservatives seem to be defending an outdated economic ideology, we are defending the households and businesses who have reached out to us during the course of this pandemic. If we actually want to dig into what experts are telling us, I direct the honourable member to the testimony of the chief economist of the IMF, who explained that countries like Canada, which are at the effective lower bound for their interest rates, the wise thing to do at this point in time is to make public investments. She described it not just being economically sound policy, but in the circumstances, the fiscally responsible thing to do.
The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, in a few hours, the government is going to be releasing its economic update, and we'll hopefully find out what they're going to do to stimulate the economy. But it doesn't matter what they do. If we're in the middle of the pandemic, we won't be able to stimulate the economy. If there's no vaccination, we won't be able to get the economy going. We've never heard what the plan is from the government. Or if they have one, perhaps they're hiding it. My question is simple. When will the government release its plan to roll out vaccines?
Mr. Speaker, as I've mentioned, we are well situated in Canada with more doses per capita than any other country in the world. 7 promising candidates in our portfolio. 4 of them now, as of today, under regulatory approval. Coordinated regulatory review with multiple credible regulatory bodies across the world. Mr. Speaker, Canadians can be proud of the work their government has done on their behalf.
That is no comfort whatsoever that you are indemnified by the government of Canada. That means that the taxpayer has to pick up any losses you have. And Mr. Kelly's question was a good one. You're buying these bonds at inflated prices. As interest rates return to normal, prices are inversely correlated.
We'll have access to it.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Mr. Speaker, Australia, a very similar sized country to Canada, has a plan that you can look up on their website with detailed steps about everything that's going on with their plan. Christina is a single parent mom in Gatineau who is struggling to get by. Her kids need dental work. She's lost her jobs. For her, a vaccine will mean she can get back to work. Why won't the Prime Minister tell Christina what is the plan for the vaccine?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, since very early on, we've been working with provinces and territories to ensure that our plans are robust. And I want to remind the member opposite, and in fact, over the last several weeks, we've immunized 16 million people for influenza just in a few weeks. And that speaks to two things, Mr. Speaker. One, the experience in provinces and territories have in delivering vaccinations in their own jurisdictions. And two, the fact that we have a public health care system, Mr. Speaker, that is makes vaccination available to all Canadians free of charge.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Well, I'm actually interested in the answer for Christina as well. Across the country, working class women are worried about if their child care centres are going to close and if they can get to work. And it's been 11 months with no end in sight. On Friday, the Prime Minister said that it would be September before most Canadians have access to a vaccine. When will the workers of the Bright Path Care Centre in Vaughan have access to a vaccine?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I've said repeatedly, Canada is well situated with more doses per capita than any other country in the world, and we're working closely with provinces and territories who have an immense amount of expertise in delivering vaccination across the country. In fact, over the last several weeks, 16 million Canadians have been vaccinated for influenza. That demonstrates just how much of a world leader Canada is in immunization. We're going to continue to support provinces and territories so that they can also deliver on COVID-19 vaccines.
Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
For 11 months, places of worship have cancelled in-person services to stop the spread of COVID, and they've complied with every rule. But now churches like Springs Church in Winnipeg are facing steep fines for allowing people to sit in their cars with their windows rolled up, while their pastors are standing far away on a stage looking at RCMP cars while they're preaching their message. The Prime Minister said on Friday it would be September before most Canadians have access to a vaccine. Does the Prime Minister think it's appropriate for Canadians have to wait until September to have their charter rights to worship respected?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank Minister Friesen for taking strong action in Manitoba to prevent further spread of COVID-19, because as we know, public health measures are important even while we wait for vaccines. And Mr. Speaker, that's what's saving lives, is strong leadership by health ministers, by premiers, who are actually stepping up to impose public health measures while the world waits for a vaccine, Mr. Speaker. Canada is well positioned. We're one of the first countries to have purchased vaccines. We have 7, in fact, in our portfolio, 4 of them under regulatory review as we speak.
Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
The minister's absolutely right in that Minister Friesen, Minister Elliott, Minister Shandro, every minister across this country needs the information that we're asking for today. When is the vaccine coming? When should they be ready? What's the plan? Where are the resources to do this? Every day we don't get an answer. More people die, more civil liberties are eroded, and more businesses close. So the Prime Minister said on Friday that it would be September before most Canadians get access to a vaccine. Was it because he was distracted with the We Charity scandal, the botched deal with CanSino, or both?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I spoke with Minister Elliott on Sunday, I think that was yesterday, and had a great conversation about the work Ontario is doing to prepare to receive the vaccines. In fact, at all levels across government, at health levels, at officials levels, at the healthcare levels, people are working together to develop plans. As the member opposite notes, the federal government has an important role, but in fact, provinces and territories have an even more important role because they are the experts in immunization. We'll be there for them, Mr. Speaker, as we deliver those vaccines and ensure that they have what they need to make sure Canadians can access them.